Hello YouTube, what the hell is going on? And welcome to the third episode of the hashtag Ask Brandon podcast. I'm so sorry about the delay. I've just been busy with stuff, busy with work, busy with everything, I guess. But at the present moment, my fingers are kind of cut up from my job because I don't know why, but my job just tears apart my fingers. It's not actually that bad, but it's still enough to keep me off guitar for a couple of days. What better time than now to actually record the podcast that you guys submitted your questions to 3 weeks ago. If you have a direct question for me and you would like to actually be on the podcast, then just DM me on Instagram with a question, and if that episode is full, then I'll move you to the next one. All right guys, let's get started. So the first question comes from POI Venture. Brandon, did you ever had a point in your journey where you felt that you couldn't achieve what you were aiming for? Yeah, man, for sure. I feel like I've been talking about this so much lately, but my goal right now is to just quit my job. I can't. I'm not ready. I'm not at that point. If I were to quit my job, I would just start, I do have enough money to survive for a little bit, but I wouldn't be able, it wouldn't be sustainable. I don't have enough money to sustain myself. As far as the short term goes, that's my immediate goal. And I feel like I'm so close, but I'm not quite there yet. There's definitely been moments where I wanted to achieve something and I feel like I can't. That's one example. So whether it be in life or strictly guitar playing, there's definitely crossovers. All right, so this next question comes from Jojo Guitar Boy, and he asks, will you include this question in your podcast? Yes. Kezia Hughes asks, the main thing I struggle with is rhythm and being able to adapt easily to different strumming patterns. How can I get better? Start practicing different rhythms with the metronome. You could practice rhythms that are just quarter note rhythms. So it'd be on the beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4. You could practice eighth note rhythms, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And basically you want to put the metronome on and then mix it up. Mix eighth notes and quarter notes together, maybe throw in some 16th notes. The main thing is just doing it with a metronome and making sure that your time is solid. If you can't think of any rhythms to practice, then there's this great tool I use all the time, and I think that you could probably find some good examples on there. So shred_KPH asks, thoughts on baritones, 7-string, and multiscale guitars? Yay or nay? Also, do you degen? I don't have any experience at all with a baritone guitar, or any multiscale guitars for that matter. I have a little bit of experience playing a 7-string, and when I say minimal experience, it was very little. I just had a friend who owned a 7-string and he let me play it a couple times. That 7-string would kind of mess me up a little bit, but yeah, I think it's totally up to you, what style that you're into. Since I spent 4 years studying jazz guitar performance, having a baritone guitar or a 7-string wasn't really practical to play jazz music. I mean, it would be cool if somebody did do that, actually. That kind of gives me an idea. 7-string jazz guitar. But yeah, I mean, I think they're cool and everything, but yeah, I don't really have a lot of experience with it. Sorry, I couldn't give you a better answer. All right, so this next person chose to stay anonymous, and their question is, any advice for young guitarists on what to do now to help them later on, such as what to practice and how to figure out their style, etc. I would say you must listen to music already, otherwise you probably wouldn't play guitar. So whatever music you listen to is kind of going to be the style that you eventually, that's gonna eventually become your style. You'll have your own twist on it. So I wouldn't worry about developing your own style just yet because you have a lot of time. Just listen to what you like, and eventually your style will come natural, because after so many hours of listening to your favorite music, that will just naturally start coming out in your guitar playing. And if you want to know what to practice, just practice learning your favorite tunes. Always use a metronome and step out of your comfort zone. If there's something that kind of intimidates you and you're kind of thinking, I don't know if I could play that, it looks really hard, just try it anyway. And you might not be able to play it immediately, but if you put in enough time and effort, well, you might actually surprise yourself. All right, so this next question comes from Marky the Hero. Hey Brandon, I was just wondering what your opinion is on experimental music and whether or not you think more traditional musicians could benefit creatively from familiarizing themselves with said experimental genres. Maybe it could jar something loose or inspire new ideas from the weirdness. Anyway, thanks in advance. It totally won't hurt you to listen to experimental forms of music and kind of dive into them a little bit. I mean, there's nothing bad that can come out of that. It's just literally like expanding your musical vocabulary into those different genres, no matter how weird they might be. When I was in university, we looked at avant-garde music quite a bit, and let me tell you, some of that music was pretty weird, man. I didn't like it. It definitely opened up a new way of thinking because it was more interactive playing, because you would play based on what the other musicians around you were doing, and you just had to really actively listen to each other. So it helped me listen to other musicians as I was playing, and that's definitely a good thing. So yeah, it could totally open up some doors to new playing and different sounds. This next question comes from J. Rosbeni. I'm probably pronouncing that like so wrong. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? It's funny that you say that, because in the last podcast, somebody asked where I see myself in 5 years. So where I see myself in 10 years, honestly, might be a little bit ambitious, but I totally see myself like not working for anybody else. I don't think that's the ambitious part. Like I see that in 5 years. In 5 years, I'm not gonna be working for anybody else. But in 10 years, like that's a whole new level. Like in 10 years, I could actually picture myself having, you know, over 1 million plus followers on Instagram and living a good life. I won't live in this apartment that you see where I pay $300 a month. I'll live somewhere nice. I think I'll actually be doing a lot better financially by then. I'll really have myself together by then. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's like really far. That's really far ahead. Like, so this answer has been pretty vague, but yeah, I definitely see myself being very happy and being pretty successful in whatever it is that I'm doing, which I plan to continue the route that I'm already on, where I'm growing on Instagram. So, you know, just 10 years from now, like, things are gonna be good.
Hey, why is the lighting different and why is my hair slightly longer? I forgot to answer this question when I originally filmed this video. Ha! Ha ha ha. AJ Roy Saxena, I think I'm saying that right. Sorry man, I left your question out the first time I recorded this podcast, so I'm refilming it, and his question is how to play running arpeggios and sweep. I don't really know what you mean by running arpeggios, but so how do you sweep on guitar? Okay, so you find a sweep shape, and then you practice it and you get it to the point where like you really don't have to think about it, because you just like your fingers know how to play it, right? Then you put on a metronome and you bring the tempo way down, and then you play the sweep, and you just play it really slow, but make sure it's perfectly even. And then as you get better, you can start to increase the tempo. If you do that for 15 minutes a day for 30 days in a row, you're gonna start seeing results. And I would know because I did this. Well, I practiced for a half hour each day, but I still did it. Check it out. If you're interested in learning how to sweep, the video actually might be worth your time.
All right guys, now we're gonna start moving into the theory questions. I like to keep the theory questions at the end because I just feel like take a little bit longer and I can't really just rush through them. So like, not that I'm trying to rush through you guys, but like it takes a little bit more of an explanation to answer something that's theoretical. So this question comes from that Nick guy. Dude, if I'm practicing my major and minor scales in all keys, what's the next logical theory to learn? Arpeggios or, well, I mean, practicing your major and minor scales is really an endless task and it just goes on forever. So like, I wouldn't really worry too much about diving into more theory because, you know, learning those scales will take so much time. I would really just try to familiarize yourself with the guitar neck and the application of the scales. So I would put on backing tracks and I would practice improvising along with a backing track to really solidify your knowledge of the scales. Now, once you do that, then I would start actually exploring other scales, like more exotic scales, like diminished scales, the modes of the melodic minor. Once you get that down, then you can move on to like actually arranging music. I don't know if you want to do that or not. I mean, yeah, so just applying the scales is the next step, I would say, for yourself. All right, guys, so final question of the episode, hashtag Ask Brandon number 3. Comes from Melanie B _92, and she asks, hi, I wonder how to play the chords of a song when you just know the melody. All right, so the first step that I would do is just hop onto Google and see if you can find the chords somewhere on the internet. Assuming that you've already done that and you can't find them, then the things that I would try to look for to identify what the chords are, listen to the root movement. I'm assuming you know what the root of a chord is, like the lowest note. So listen to where the roots are moving, because if you can hear the root and you can find where it is on guitar, that's really gonna narrow down what chord it could be. Depending on the key, you can figure out if you know the root, what the quality of the chord is, like if it's major or minor or dominant. If you don't know the key, then, well, at least you know the root. Second thing that I would listen for would be the tonality, like, again, just trying to hear whether or not it's minor, whether or not it's major, dominant, diminished, augmented, minor, major. And if you can't hear the tonality, then you need to actually look at the line of the song. Like, what is the melody doing? The melody is going to have notes in it that work over the chord. Like, it has to, otherwise it wouldn't make sense. So you can look at the individual notes of the melody, and by looking at them, you can kind of figure out, okay, well, these are the notes that are actually working. So then you relate those notes to the root, and it will really help you identify like the tonality of the chord. So there's 3 things that you can do, and I hope that helps. And that's it, you guys. All right, so thank you so much if you asked a question. It's what makes these podcasts happen. If you have a question and you want to be on a future podcast, just send me a direct message on Instagram, ask your question, and I'll put it in the episode. If that episode's full, then I'll just move it to the next one. If you've already asked a question and you ask another question, then I am going to favor people who are asking new questions, people that I've never answered before. I want everybody to get their questions answered. So I hope you guys get some value out of this episode. Make sure you subscribe to me here on YouTube and follow me on Instagram, which I assume that you're already doing, otherwise you wouldn't be on this episode in the first place. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.